All right, guys, I'm going to try and keep this video pretty short. We are one day out from the 2020 presidential election, and I want to give my final election predictions. I don't want to mince words. I want to be very clear with what I think is going to happen. So I do think that Joe Biden is going to win the Electoral College, and I think it's going to be very close. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think people that are saying it's going to be a blowout, he's going to win Texas, stuff like this, I think that they're wrong. I think that maybe Texas will overperform for Democrats than it has in years before, but I do think that Joe Biden will lose Texas, but I think that overall he's going to win the Electoral College. I don't even think that it's a question that he's going to win the popular vote. I mean, this is and any poll for now. I haven't seen a single national poll that shows Joe Biden losing. There's no question about it. And then if we're talking about the state by state polls, I mean, even if we account for the fact that the polls were wrong in 2016, Joe Biden has a much larger lead than Hillary Clinton had in 2016. And so I think that if unless somebody has some outside information that shows this massive problem with all the polling that's being done, I think that any reasonable person should predict that Joe Biden is going to win. I think that we can also look at mail-in voting. There are so many mail-in votes that have come in. So many people that have already voted, and we can look at the registry with like Democrats and Republicans that are newly registered voters in all of these different states, and Democrats are largely winning at that, and they are largely the Democrats that have requested mail-in ballots. I think that it's while I do think that it's going to be close, just because I think that Joe Biden is going to underperform from some of the polls. I think that he is still going to win just because he has such a large lead. And now, why are some of the reasons? Because in 2016, I actually, I wasn't making videos back then, but I did think that Donald Trump was going to win. I didn't want him to win, but I did think it was going to happen. Unfortunately, I was right. I think that Donald Trump ran a much better campaign in 2016. I think that his ground game was actually really good. He held a ton of rallies, especially in comparison to Hillary Clinton. This is something the pandemic, I think that it really hurt him in that regard. It might be one of the biggest ways that it hurt him, electorally speaking. Just his inability to hold the rallies that I think really helped him in 2016. I also think his messaging was just absolutely atrocious this time around. It was just, and not to say that it was good in 2016, but in 2016 he was a little populist. He was a little, talking about ending the wars, talking about bringing jobs back, talking about. Sometimes he would talk about things like, oh, we're going to make sure everyone has health care. He would talk about all these different things that he was. I mean, obviously a charlatan. I mean, he's just making stuff up. But I think that it resonated with some people. He would talk about how he's not taking any campaign donations. He would always talk about that, how he's self-funding his campaign. I think that really he came in like he was like this outsider, and I think that people really like that. Now he is 100% part of the swamp, as he likes to call it, and I think that people see that. I think that people see that. I mean, it also doesn't help that we are literally in some semblance of chaos right now. I mean, this is a pandemic, and we're not technically in a recession right now. I don't think, because the new GDP numbers show that we did have economic expansion, which means technically that's not a recession. I think a recession is probably coming. Regardless, though, I think that the chaos that's in this country right now with all the protests that are going on, I think that people know that this administration has been a failure, and I think that people recognize that, and they think that Joe Biden is this return to normalcy, and I think that people are hungry for not what's happening. I think that Donald Trump has exhausted a lot of people, and they just don't want to deal with it anymore. I truly believe that if Bernie Sanders was the nominee, Bernie Sanders could win, 45 plus states. I really do. Maybe all 50. Maybe that's all 50 is a little too much, but I do think that he would do even better than Joe Biden could. But that being said, Joe Biden, former vice president, I think that that's probably one of the biggest reasons he's doing so well. He has that name recognition. Obama's incredibly popular. He's tied to Obama. He hasn't had to campaign that much, and I think that's really benefited him. I think that he's going off of his name recognition, and I think it's as simple as that. The fact that he was former vice president, I think that's the biggest reason why he's winning. He's that, and he doesn't seem threatening. And that's when Donald Trump says that, like, oh, he's this Marxist, crazy, on the side of chaos and everything. Nobody believes that, and it's just his Donald Trump's messaging just is not resonating with people that I think it wasn't the way it was in 2016. And yeah, that is my prediction. I think that Joe Biden is going to win. I think that it will be a slim electoral victory. I do think I am also trying to account for the possibility that there is some chaos regarding the mail-in ballots. I think that that's something that will be tried. I think that people will try to cause some chaos in that regard. I think that Republicans will try to say that it's rigged. I think that when Joe Biden wins, I think that it will be that's going to be Republicans' main talking point, is that it was because of mail-in ballots. We'll have to see on that front. But I think that even with all of that, I think that Joe Biden is. I think he's going to win. I really do. And that's, I voted for Joe Biden. I did. I hope everybody's voting for Joe Biden. I think that he's not a good candidate, but he is better than Donald Trump. And I am very much looking forward to making dozens and hopefully hundreds of videos criticizing Joe Biden, pulling him to the left, and getting the real change that we need in this country. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you disagree with my prediction, if you have your own, or if you think it's going to be a blowout in either direction, please comment down below. Let me know what you think. And if you haven't voted yet, go vote.